barely agree on anything. Try to figure out the world.
This week, though, we agree on one thing.
Stonks.
Stonks.
There's a lot more intelligent people out there than us who are probably all over this stuff and showing it and everything. And if you're not up to date on the current GameStop thing, not a financial analyst. I have to say this for reasons.
Also, me, not a financial analyst, and we do not give advice.
Yeah, we don't give it. Do not give it financial advice. But there is some interesting information that we can share and bring to light and talk about kind of things that, that have at least happened this past week and this past weekend with the restriction on the buying of restricted stocks and volatile stocks and shorted stocks, whatever you want to call them, whatever the news is calling them. So let's just jump right in. So what's going on right now? So that's heavily shorted.
Do you want to start with what we did or how we came about? Like, so Wednesday, you sent me a text talking about GameStop.
Yeah.
Have you right?
Yeah.
And just kind of how we fell into this thing and we got going on it.
We can start there. So we're cheap, right? And we're not huge investors and everything else, but we definitely got to liking some of the stocks that were going on in the trades, and we got pretty excited when we saw what was happening with GameStop and how it was causing a hedge fund to lose billions of dollars. And we were kind of out of the loop in the main part of it, and we got, we saw it like Monday. I saw that it had gone up to like $160. I think Tuesday it was kind of high, and then it started affecting other stocks that also had massive short interests. Nowhere near to the extent that GameStop did. What they did with GameStop might be criminal with the naked shorts, but I'm no financial advisor. I can't necessarily make a comment on that. So it's just possible. Seems like it should be illegal to sell more than what exists. So anyway, so we were looking at these stocks that were a little bit more in our price range, and we came across AMC. Awesome timing. So AMC was priced up to about, let's see here, the 5-day. Yeah, so Wednesday it jumped up to about $17, $19 was the high on Wednesday. And we got in somewhere down below that. It closed Wednesday, it went back down, and then it's been riding around ever since. With the extreme restrictions and the essentially false drops, I think they're false drops that happened here. I think we're due for a nice little green rise potentially in the short squeeze. Potentially, I don't know. I'm no financial advisor. We'll wait and see. You and I talked about it. Worst case scenario, nothing actually happens with AMC right now. It all goes to GameStop, and then we own a bunch of AMC stock, and the economy reopens and it goes back up anyway. So, that was kind of our reasoning when we were looking at it. At least that's what I was thinking. I don't know what your thoughts were.
So, it's pretty funny. So, I just want to talk about, remember a year ago when we were, I don't know, we had been arguing politics for a while, and we just decided, we're like, hey man, are you in the stock market? Not really. And
you want to be?
So let's get into it, man. And so we both kind of dropped politics for about a year, maybe 6 months to a year.
It was about 6 months, because I think I lost all my money, and then I was like, all right, back to politics.
And so we sorry, the kids are going crazy. That's cool. And so we got into it, and then I put all my money into Carnival, and I was just gonna ride it until until the economy opened back up. I think I was up maybe, I don't know, $60 or whatever. But I just figured, eventually this thing's gonna open up. And so I was just holding it. And so when you texted me the thing about GameStop, and then I started looking into it, and then you said something about AMC, so I started looking into that, and then I was like, GameStop is out of my price range. Just absolutely. I was like, I can't get into that one.
Yeah, I think we were looking at it was like $3.30, $3.40, something like that a share, and we were like,
I was like, but AMC, I think I can swing that. So I bought as many shares as I could, which wasn't very much because I'm a teacher, and so we were watching, and the market closed, and then Thursday they shut down everybody's buy ability.
You can still sell. That's right. You can still sell on all the different platforms.
On my platform, because I use Thinkorswim, not an endorsement, but Thinkorswim is the trading platform for TD Ameritrade. Again, not an endorsement, and but for whatever reason, they didn't shut me down. So every time it dropped below $9, I bought. And so my $15 trade price dropped down to, like, I think I'm right at around 12, because every time I just bought 5 more shares. And I ended up selling every other stock that I held and bought into AMC, and I am holding. So, yeah, you want to fix it? I know. Here. All right, go fix it. From what I am going to do the weird strategy that they said, just put your sell at 1,000. Yeah. I'm going to do it like on Monday. No, I'll sell at 1,000. So
I think we'd both be doing all right if that actually happens. So
man, I'm gonna be doing all right if it goes to 100, or even 50. Like I'm gonna be doing great.
Be saying thank you.
But I mean, shoot, even if it goes to 30, I've doubled my money. So
what's crazy? Have you been on the subreddit we can't talk about? I don't know if we can talk about it or not.
I'm on it right now.
Have you noticed that there's a lot of people on there who are planning to hold when it craters?
Yeah. Yeah, they're just holding.
They're just going to hold. They're just holding, period. I think that speaks to the sentiment of like what we were talking about the other day of, like, nobody likes that establishment. This moneyed group of people. And it's very leading when you look at, like, who's speaking out for it, protecting the hedge funds, and who wants to keep the markets open for us.
Right.
Which is why I wasn't surprised when, like, Elizabeth Warren came out and she said, hey, we need more regulation. This is market manipulation that these people on these chats are doing. You know, this is bad. You're not supposed to be able to do this. Not to my donors.
So, yeah. What I thought, of course, me, but the funniest tweet that I saw was like, oh, I see that some of you like sticking it to the man. And there's a picture of Karl Marx, and they're like, I've got a plan for you. Yep.
That's right.
It's
of course, they're going to
been
bring
a good week for social media.
Das Kapital. So anyway, this is an interesting thing. I don't know if you can see my screen the way I got it set up right this second. what I'm showing is the short interest. Now, the short interest, for anyone who doesn't know, this is all freely available information on any New York Stock Exchange. If you go to, obviously, this is Market Beat. They publish this routinely, regularly. There should be new numbers out for the end of January. And we will be able to see, because publicly traded companies have to maintain all of their public financial information for the public to decide whether or not they do or don't want to invest in that. And that includes short interest. And the short interest is what exploded for GameStop. If you see here the outstanding shares in GameStop, this currently shows 102 million outstanding shares. Best I can tell, there's like 71 million shares that exist that have ever been issued by GameStop. So they've sold more than exists. So that's what people are talking about when they say 140% of the shares were oversold.
Right.
It was 140%. They got it down a little bit through some of the short ladder manipulation, which is what was happening with the trading last week when they restricted this trading, and it was to restrict the amount of buy orders that were going through the system. So we were all restricted from trading unless you had TD Ameritrade. You could get in $5 5 shares at a time. But for the vast majority of like the Wall Street bets, they all used Robinhood, and they were all cut out. So that's roughly like 6 million people that were just like restricted them from their trading on that one platform.
Well, then, so that was Thursday that they cut all y'all off on that. Well, then my buddy decided he was going to go ahead and get into AMC, and he bought in. They let him buy 25 shares. Well, he got paper hands and he sold, and then was mad about it that he sold, so he wanted to buy back in. Well, then they restricted him to only 10 shares. And they said, you can't buy more than 10. And so he kept trying to buy one more, trying to buy 5 more, kept on trying to get back in, and they wouldn't let him, which I thought was really interesting. So it's like, oh, we're going to open it back up, sorta.
Kinda. we're gonna do it enough so that the SEC doesn't come after our nuts, because that's kind of what that looks like.
I don't, I've been listening a lot to some financial news and stuff, and so what they keep bringing up is that with Robinhood, the traders on Robinhood are not the client, they're not the customer. They provide a service to the customer and then provide trade information based on what you guys buy and sell. They sell that information to these hedge funds. And so Citadel, who apparently was part of the heavy short gate, I don't know what coined right here, short gate. Well,
they stuck a gate on the end of it and made it a controversy.
What's that?
They stuck a gate on the end of it already.
Damn it.
White Watergate.
Yeah, I lost you there for a second.
I said that they stick a gate on the end of it. And now it's short gate, Dorito gate,
no,
Watergate.
I just did that.
Oh, okay.
That was on me. That coined right here. BroPartisan Hacks, short gate. So anyway, so what they did was, what they do is they sell all the trading information to all these bigger banks and these hedge funds, and that's the product. So apparently they got a significant investment of $1 billion into their little business there, because basically what they did was they tanked their business, right? So there is an investment that has been made into old Vladdy to do this. Like, they're not, he made a business decision because he knows that Robinhood is going to go down. Like, everybody that I've talked to, it's all over the internet, but everybody is going to leave Robinhood. Um, so it's I don't know. It's obviously shady as shit. But
Well, there's more to it than that. Because I think I was reading somewhere that was like Citadel makes up like 40% of like all the retail investment stocks and money that changes hands goes through Citadel, which is us.
Really?
I mean, that's us, not hedge fund people. 40% goes through Citadel.
Wow.
So, and I don't remember if it was for the whole market or for Robinhood itself. But the number 40% sticks in my mind. They're a major player, regardless. Either way. So it's like it's not a small fish. I mean, hell, that's the company that Citadel is the group that bailed out Melvin Capital already with $2.7 billion or $3 billion or whatever their buyout was, that they already got the bailout for to cover the initial losses so that they could keep paying interest and like to cover even 20% of the shorts that they'd sold. So anyway, there's a lot happening right now. Keep up to date on your news. Pay attention to your sources. The boys over at Wall Street Bets are saying diamond hands. Of course, the news media, I think, we've already, if you've watched any of our other clips, you know how much I despise them and how highly I think of them. I think they're lying through their teeth about closing their positions. That's what I think. That's a personal belief that I have. That when CNBC comes on and they say, "Oh, Melvin Capital has closed out their short positions."
No, they didn't.
Bullshit. I say it's bullshit because I watched the trading volume all fucking day.
Right, because that was the best way for when that was what I was looking at too, and that's what I was showing my class. What we were looking at was the trading volume, and
like,
just trying to watch
they owe 100 million shares. No,
it was really convenient this week that all of this happened because in my class we started the stock market investing this week, so I could do this all day. Every day.
I'm a little bit jealous because I definitely was working and had my other screen up at work, just with the stock market, and so I restricted myself with my little bit of productivity just because I was only working off of one screen, but I had to keep the eye on the other one.
Right, I had the ticker running. That barchart.com that you sent me is a really good free chart.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's got everything.
For free charts, I've been looking at tradingview.com, which isn't bad, but that bar chart's really good.
Yeah, bar chart's the one I use. I think I got it off of
not a sponsor yet.
I think I got it off of Kamikaze Cash or something like that when he was I was watching a video on how to look at the charts and how to read them. But anyway, shout out to that guy who's a way bigger channel than we are.
Everybody's a way bigger channel than we are.
Oh yeah.
So far.
We'll get there. So
anyway, you like my new mic?
It's fancy. I do like your new mic. I think it sounds a lot better.
I wanted to talk about so I've been talking to family and friends. What I meant to say was our viewers, which is family and friends.
Yeah.
All three of them. And so they said something about the mic levels and audio levels, and we needed to equal out. And so that's what this is. We're trying to. I wasn't happy with it, and apparently our fan base wasn't happy with it, so I went and got a new mic. So hopefully this helps.
It sounded better in our test run, so we'll see how it sounds now. I think the levels should be okay. If they're not, let me know. Let us know. So
yeah.
you had ended. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, do you want to jump into some of the other topics that we had, since we had a request for a $15 minimum wage?
I was going to lead with what you had ended last time, but we can start with that if you want.
What I end with last time? I don't remember.
We were talking Black Lives Matter organization versus the movement.
Nah.
So
Let's go.
minimum
Let's
wage?
go. $15 minimum wage is a little more topical for events going on right now.
That's fair. All right.
It's pretty prominent in the news media. So $15 minimum wage.
50? Is it 50 now?
It's 15. One thing that I saw was that, for just to start with, that if wages had risen, one day I learned how to talk, if wages had risen with inflation, like along with inflation, because you said inflation was the problem. If wages had risen with inflation, we would be at $23 an hour as a minimum wage, which is significant. Now, I've heard also that minimum wage should be around 60% of the median wage. So not the mean, but the median. Which, honestly, if the median wage is around 40% or 40,000-ish, it's like 41 something. It actually comes out to, somebody did the math, but it actually comes out to like $14.98 per hour. So right there at $15 an hour, at 60% of the median wage nationwide. However, if you did that in a city like Seattle, the median wage in Seattle, the minimum wage would come out to like $28 an hour. Now, obviously, there are people on the left where, $15 minimum wage has been the go get it for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. So everybody's been talking about $15 minimum wage, and that's been the goal.
And just to be clear, this is a federal mandated minimum wage.
Right. So what it's funny because, again, that's been the goal for a lot of progressives and a lot of the left. It's $15 minimum wage, and now we actually have like Joe Biden talking about it, which was, something that you couldn't even conceive of a year ago. Just having that be mainstream. Okay. So now they're talking about it, and of course, what's the online left doing? 15's not enough. It should be 25. And so what the proposal right now for $15 an hour minimum wage is incremental. I've looked. I don't have it in front of me, and I don't know how to find it, but I saw it goes up. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
My screen stopped for a second.
Yeah, you're good. I see you.
Rob. Hello. Okay. So it's like next year it goes up. Next year it goes up to 9 something. Then the year after that it goes up to 12 something, and then the year after that it eventually ending at $15 an hour in 2025.
I have it. I found that bill. You want me to pull it up?
Oh, you have it? Yeah.
Right. So, wow, that's really weird. Okay, so here it says Bobby Scott, blah 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 blah. The plan proposes increasing the federal minimum, which stands at $7.25 to $9.50 in 2021. The minimum wage would increase incrementally over the next 4 years, with a target 15 mandated by 2025. Federal minimum wage would be exceeded to index the median wage growth in the years after 2025. Federal minimum would change automatically to account for inflation without action needed by Congress. Phasing out tipped wages, youth workers, and workers with disability.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm reading it along with this. I guess I can keep reading it aloud for anyone who's listening. Even with the COVID-19 pandemic, the $7.25 federal minimum wage was economically and morally indefensible, said Scott, chairman of the House, blah, blah, blah. Now the pandemic is highlighting the gross imbalance between the productivity of our nation's workers and the wages they are paid. The Raise the Wage Act is a critical step towards lifting hardworking people out of poverty, addressing income inequality, and building back a better economy where everyone can succeed. Okay. Is that the bill you were looking for?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Yes, because every right-wing person is going to tell you that raising the minimum wage, double it overnight, is going to affect businesses. And it's actually going to hurt the economy because, you know, the economics 101, inflation, cost of everything goes up, people get laid off, unemployment goes up, Democrats are dumb. That hasn't happened in the states that they've raised the minimum wage.
It did happen in New York.
It didn't happen in Florida. It didn't happen in Seattle. It didn't happen where?
It happened in New York. When they raised the federal minimum wage for restaurateurs and restaurateurs, they all got let go. A bunch of them let go. And, you know, that's just what happened.
Did that have to do with the pandemic, or did that have to do with...
I mean, I'm sure it led into it, but it happened before the pandemic.
Okay, the minimum wage for fast food workers outside New York City is scheduled to increase up to $15 on July 1st, 2021. State law defines fast food establishments as any chain with at least 30 locations. In New York City, it was already $15 an hour. So that's not giving me any more information.
I mean, you wanna talk about
opinion,
evidence.
The $15 minimum wage was supposed to hurt New York City restaurants, but both revenue and employment are up. This was in January 12th of 2020, so this is before the pandemic hit.
Why is it
what
written as
hasn't
an opinion
happened?
piece?
It's on Market Watch. I mean, everything's written as an opinion piece. So we can look up each one. It says when worker pay goes up, employers can respond in a number of different ways. They can cut hours, lay off workers, accept smaller profits, or raise prices. With profits so low in the restaurant industry, employers may not have the option to accept less than profits without going into the red. In many industries, increased labor costs may prompt business to lay off American workers and move operations overseas where labor costs are lower. But this is a viable solution in the restaurant industry since most of the work is done on site. Still, massive layoffs in the restaurant industry are unlikely because owners need a certain number of staff to operate a full-service kitchen. So they increase prices. Prices go up. Raising menu prices will lead to fewer people dining out and consequently more restaurant closures. The fact of the matter is, and I can go into keep reading this if you would like, but the fact of the matter is when you put money in the hands of more people, it's demand-side economics. When you put more money, or Keynesian economics, I don't know how to say that guy's name. when you put more money in the hands of regular people, the everything goes up. Everybody's profit margin goes up. Laffer was a quack. Wage hikes help everyone. Perhaps the principal reason that the minimum wage increase did not seem to have a negative effect on the restaurant industry in New York is that the state's economy is strong overall, so businesses have been able to absorb the increases without having to make hard decisions about where to cut. So again, this is, it's got links for all of, all the claims that they make. Low-wage workers have more money in their pockets. They will have more money to spend, potentially expanding the number of consumers who can afford to eat out. I'm just saying, like, historical data doesn't support that people will get laid off. Now, if you go from $7.25 an hour to $28 an hour nationwide, yes, then it will crash. And not just like businesses, but the economy could crash. So I do agree with there has to be a certain medium there. And, ideally, honestly, you could do it by county by county in the country, because obviously, like Dallas County, so forth and so on, some of these more expensive areas to live can support raising the minimum wage higher than Hill County, for example. Like it's just not going to be feasible for them to jump to $15 an hour overnight. Dallas County could do it tomorrow, and I don't think it would affect business at all. That's what I think. And there's data to back that up. I mean, I could say that's what I think, but I mean, in every region where the minimum wage has gone up, most minimum wage jobs are not small businesses or small business jobs. Cities and states with higher minimum wages have seen increase in profit and reduction in unemployment as a result compared to the federal minimum. So again, it has to do with putting more money in the pockets of regular people who, again, like I've talked about, are going to go out and spend the money. I mean, think about, for example, what's going on in the stock market right now. The regular people got their little stimmy checks, and they're doing something with it, and they're trying to make more money with their money. Not everybody needed to put that in, needed to go out and buy something immediately, right? But some people were able to save it, but other people, they had to go put that immediately back into the economy. What's the term? Velocity of money. Have you heard of that? Mm-hmm. Velocity of money.
Yep.
Where when rich people get a big chunk of money, get $100, it goes into the bank and they don't think about it again. But if let's say a mechanic gets $100 and he goes and he buys, or let's just say regular Joe, right? Regular Joe gets money, $100, and he goes and fixes something on his car that needed to be fixed. And then that money goes to the mechanic. The mechanic then takes that money and he goes and buys food for his family. That money then is transferred to the grocery store and the farmers who made the food or who grew the food. It ever increases. I'm not explaining this well, but you get the gist of it.
I'm letting you go, man. You're on a roll. I'm going to disagree with you on a lot of these points you've made, but
go ahead. Which
thing.
One?
Well, I guess my first one is, so it's a shot at the source. And yeah, this is sourced. This has sources written in it. How many restaurant employees do you need? So, I'm sorry. There was evidence. There was data that showed that the restaurants people were either had reduced hours or were laid off, and the prices went up for the food, and there were New Yorkers complaining about that. That did happen. So, I mean, like I said, this piece here, yeah, okay, it has a good argument, but those things did happen. The other thing I saw was the numbers you were throwing out seemed high. So I pulled it up.
Which numbers?
The numbers you were saying for the inflation rates on the wage. And this one says that in 1968, your wage then would be worth $10.54 now. So while it has had I guess a decrease in value.
How about we go back from 1932 when the original
$38. Well, I mean, shit. Why don't we just go back to the 1800s then? Mike, what's your cutoff?
When
what
was
does
the
that,
minimum?
what does that matter? Why is that important?
Because that's when the minimum wage was introduced in the 30s with Roosevelt. We didn't have a minimum wage before that. Remember?
So you're gonna go back to the beginning of history of the minimum wage then. That's what we should be looking at then.
I would say so, yeah, because that's when
we haven't had any other economic factors since then. Nothing else has happened with the economy since 1938. Or everything has happened, and it's a different world that we live in.
What do you mean different world? I don't understand.
Post-World War II world? Is it the same as it was pre-war?
We've been in war for 21 years, now what?
Have we though? I mean, we've been at war. But has it been the total war scenario that we saw previously in this country's history? No.
I don't understand the point. Because you're maintaining you're going back to lack of people, lack of employable people. Is that what you're going with?
No, I'm saying it's a factor. It's not the only factor, but I mean it raises the question of how far you want to go back. Obviously, this chart here then doesn't go back far enough. Then
I said since the beginning of minimum wage. That's how far back. That'd be the line.
So
Captain Slippery Slope.
Oh, what did you say? I'll let you go with it.
What I said was $23 an hour, and obviously I got that from the Gravel Institute, which we all know how biased that one is.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the 60% of the median and where it should be ideally, and how that's nationwide, and how it, ideally, in my opinion, it should be based off area and cost of living in that area, because really, at the end of the day, people want a living wage, right? What's a living wage? What would be a living wage in your mind? If you worked 40 hours a week, what's a living wage? It's different based on your area, right?
So
would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that, which is why I would beg the question of why do you need a federal minimum wage?
You really don't understand why? I'll tell you why. Do you want to know why we have to have a federal minimum wage? Because unions in this country are weak as fuck. That's why. Because if we had a strong union base in this country, we wouldn't need a federal minimum wage, because the unions would take care of that.
Have you worked with a lot of unions?
Unions are what protects the workers.
Have you worked with a lot of unions?
No,
recently?
But I can look across the pond and see that in other countries that don't require federal minimum wages, and their McDonald's employees make $20 an hour because of unions. It's not hard to fucking do research.
So you haven't worked with any unions in the Americas, have you?
I'm a teacher. Of course I've worked with unions.
Okay. I mean, we live in one of the most restrictive states for unions.
Correct.
In Texas. So that's the right to work state. And have you worked with anybody on the other side, like the labor office people? Like, talked to them at all? Had any conversations with them? Like the people who have to like meet with the unions and set up their contracts and everything?
One of my best friends is a member of the pipe fitters union.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I guess that's close as I get.
So
and I think he's a representative for his location.
I can't speak to like his business and when or what they're doing these days. I can only speak for like the people in the groups that I work around, right? You're right that their union and the people that I work with, I'm gonna get myself in trouble, have very little leverage, it seems, when it comes to dealing with getting what they want right now. I will tell you that. However, on the other side of the channel, on the other side of the thing, is that the sites that aren't unionized where I work and then the business that I work, their guys are getting paid more. They're getting better benefits. They're taking the union guys to go work at their facilities for double the rate of what the union has argued for. We can't even hold on to our union hands. You know, nobody wants to join the union anymore. None of the younger guys do. And I don't know if that's just a function of the way that they negotiated the contract. Like they don't have to get the benefits of being in that union. Like they'll get a union rep if something happens or whatever to come represent them at something. They don't have to pay the dues just because of what their job description is. And there are union members and non-union members that I work with on both sides of this, and in the same job. And like the labor board has basically made it the mission to like try to get people to like vote down the union so that they have a little bit more flexibility with their people. Because right now they couldn't pay more people more if they wanted to hang on to them. That's what the union has done for where I work. They can't even keep up with the demand to like hang on to these guys. So they get these guys in, they hire them up, they work them about a year, they train them up, and then they get hired to go work somewhere else.
I'm with you because the labor unions are weak. They're weak. They have piss poor leadership. You know, I mean.
Do you think that labor unions? Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And I think a lot of the reason is the business class or the owner class have worked very hard to downplay unions in this country, and worked very hard to get rid of them, and so they've gotten weaker and weaker and weaker over the course of 100 years.
Do you think we still have
you wouldn't have weekends without a union? You wouldn't have a 40-hour work week without a union. You wouldn't have, you would still have child labor without a union. I mean, there are lots and lots of things that unions have done for this country, and they have been fought against every step of the way. And so it's been a long effort to hurt unions. And so all of those things you're talking about is just a what's the word? A symptom of that effort. And so a lot of people are, you get fired when you try to start a union. Even though that's illegal, they still do it. Because what are you going to do? You going to sue them? You going to call somebody? Who are you going to call? You're out of work. Now what? Now you got to go get a job. You don't have time for that. You don't have time to go and start this fight. So it's just been a weakening. But regardless, that's why you need a federal minimum wage.
So what you just said,
those groups are weak.
Like, retaliatory action is illegal already, and so.
But who's gonna enforce it, Rob?
Who does enforce it?
Exactly.
OSHA.
You can take it to court.
It depends.
You can take it to court.
You have to take it to court. That's the point.
Who has time for that? But who has time for that? You're gonna take a bunch of fucking low wage jobs, a bunch of low wage workers who live paycheck to paycheck, and they got time to go to fucking court over this? No, they got to go get another job. They got to have their job that they have. They don't have time.
They got fired. They don't get their unemployment check.
Oh, that's enough. My bad.
Is that not going to be enough to like have the time to go to court and do your thing?
No.
Or is the job not worth fighting over?
Either one, any one of those things. Like it's not, but is it worth it to go and start it up and where you have the possibility where you could be fired because you just saw Joe, your buddy that stands right next to you, he was talking to the union people and he got fired. Now, is it worth it to you to go talk to him? No, because you need that job. Because we live in America where if you don't work, you don't fucking eat.
That's not true.
Okay, you're right. It is true. It is true. The little $300 unemployment a week that you get is not enough to feed a family. I'm sorry. It's not. $300 is enough to scrape by on if you eat ramen. I'm just saying, it's not enough.
If you're working somewhere and you get fired for trying to start a union, that shit's illegal. You have a case.
So what happens? Let's see. Let's look that up. What happens?
Then what's the fuck's the union gonna do for you?
Get fired for union. So, can talking with unions get me fired? The simple answer is no. Does this mean you won't get fired for participating in union activities? No. Company can't say they're firing you for union activities. They can say they're firing you for something else. The onus is then on you to prove otherwise. And proving your case in court of law can be costly both financially and time-wise. Even if you are able to prevail, the punishment usually amounts to no more than the company compensating you for the lost wages, minus any money earned at your current job and offering you your job back. That's basically exactly what I was saying. That's from ziprecruiter.com.
So if you make the choice,
it wouldn't be worth it
to do those things, then you made a choice.
So your choice is no choice, Rob.
You made a choice. It's still a choice.
Bro, okay, so let's talk about choices. And I'm going to give you this example, and I got this from Vosh because I love it. But listen, okay,
right,
listen to this choice. Okay, you and I are on a plane. The plane crashes, okay? The plane crashes onto a deserted island. It's very small. It's maybe, 100 feet all directions in diameter. It's a circle island. I wake up before you, okay? I wake up before you and I collect all the coconuts and I hide them away. I collect every trace of food on the island and I hide it away from you. When you wake up and you seem hungry, I say, hey, I got these coconuts over here for you. In order to get a coconut, you got to suck this dick. Otherwise, you starve to death. Are you taking dick or death?
I would probably
there's your
physically
choice.
attack you. I would take a third choice, and I would attack you, and I would say, who's going to win? If those are my
understand what you're
choices,
saying.
then I fight.
So what you're saying
if those are my
is you are
choices,
for-
then I fight. Period.
So you're for feudalism. Got it.
If that
it.
was the choice between sucking dick or having a fucking coconut, yeah, feudalism. I'm gonna fight for that shit. There's no binary choice in that bullshit. That's a bullshit thing. That's bullshit.
So
And
so
you know
your
that
choice
is.
would then
And you
be-
know it's bullshit
so your choice
because
would be then
anyone,
to fight.
any person who's in this economy, like it sucks right now. It's as bad as it's ever been in my life.
So you're saying they should fight.
What does that mean? In the
What does that
situation you gave me, it was physical violence. What does fighting look
Right.
like now? Is it still physical violence?
I would imagine so.
Or there's a fourth choice where you could go do something else. You don't have to suck that dick. You could work on yourself, get a little bit better, get a little bit more experience, earn something more. You know, the old bullshit thing when they told people
so you
to
got,
learn
you got
the
time
code.
to do that? So you're just going to live off the unemployment? What if you got a family to feed right fucking now, Rob?
Hey,
You don't have a choice to go better yourself. You got to have a fucking job. You got to feed your family. That's dumb. You don't have, it's not, oh, I'm going to go get better. I'm going to go back to school. Fuck that shit. You got a family to feed right now. You don't have fucking time.
You get to work. What do you want me to tell you?
So
there's
that
an
falls back
industry
to
down
exactly
here.
what the fuck
There's
I'm
work
saying.
to do. Well, if you don't
It
want to
falls
work in fucking McDonald's,
exactly
there's work to
what
do.
the fuck I'm saying.
There's work to
your
fucking be done.
So then those are your choices. So you go and find whatever work can happen. So you either choose the job that you have at the rate that you have. You talk to somebody and you get fired for it. You talk to a union and you get fired for it. So your options are to go find another job. That's it. That's why unions are weak.
I never said they were strong. I only question the reason for their existence today.
Well, for better wages would be the idea. For what they're worth now, I don't think there's any reason for them now. Honestly. Well, I've never lived in an area where unions are strong, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Like
I wouldn't either.
I've never I mean
And in the area where I live and the unions that I work around, they're not helping you, they're hurting you.
well, apparently they're helping people over in Nevada. Their culinary union's pretty strong.
I can see that.
Steelworkers union's pretty strong up in the north side. The auto workers union's falling apart because of NAFTA. People can't get work, so.
I mean, if they close down your whole business, your union ain't going to do much.
Yeah, what are they going to do? So.
Yeah, we don't have a plant here anymore. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and that's taking away a lot of the power.
So I want to get back to this idea on the
Bill.
federal minimum wage. And you said it yourself that different areas have different cost of living, right?
Yes.
So you have a bare minimum where and I think you brought this example up, but the bare minimum where the lone gas station attendant owner who works out on the middle of whatever highway runs through the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, that guy needs to pay his employees $15 an hour there, even though having more than one employee, we'll say, would basically just put him out of business.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think if you did it county by county or state by state, even, I think that would be better. That would be a better option, because every place is different. There's no two. Because I do think it's a good idea to do it incrementally. if you're going to do a federal minimum wage. I think the way they're going about it is a good idea. I think the minimum wage does need to increase. And again, I think it's important because we don't have a strong union base that protects wages for people around this country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, $15 an hour is not a lot of money, especially in where I live. It's not going to cut it. I once tried to survive on 20 years ago, tried to survive on $10 an hour, and I couldn't do it. Cost of living. So one thing that I think is important is to determine what classifies a living wage. What would you say classifies a living wage? Like,
I mean, for me personally, I've always calculated like your house should be no more than 25% of your monthly income, bills somewhere in the neighborhood, another 5, 10, 15% depending on how many car payments you have and insurance and everything else and that. I mean, but that adds up. No, that's not an accurate statement. So your house should be about 25%, and you should basically have your bills as another like 30%, and everything else is divided up between food and savings, essentially. So, I don't know.
So here's what I think. Okay, living wage equals the cost of basic but decent life for a family. Obviously divided by the number of people in the family, plus statutory payroll deductions and taxes. Okay, so cost for a basic but decent life for a reference size of family. Okay, cost of food, cost of housing, and other essential needs, and then enough for a small margin of unforeseen events. Because what I've learned about adulthood is at least once a year, you're going to have something happen where that's going to cost you $1,000 minimum. And so I would say that you need to make enough for the cost of food, the cost of housing, based on your family size, and any other essential needs, right? And then have enough to save at least $1,000, because too many people are going into debt for a $400, $500 emergency, and that stems from minimum wage. And I think a lot of people get really concerned when you say, a minimum wage is, what's $15,000 or $15 an hour per year?
It's about,
I think it was, so 15 times
grand.
40 is 600. 600 times 52 is 31,200. Okay. So when you see that, and then you see, this is my other favorite thing to look up. Base salary starting teacher. In the state of Texas, the base salary is $40,000, $725. That's average, okay? Because that averages in places like that
Howard
pay
Park
start out at like
and Whitney.
Yeah. So that's average of 40,000. So and then the state of Utah is 35,722. So people see that, they're like, $30,000 for a McDonald's worker, and teachers only make $35,000, and their thought is to make sure that you pay the minimum wage worker less and not the teacher more. that feels like a big fuck you to me. Because obviously I'm a teacher, and I think teachers should get paid more because we're licensed fucking professionals. I've got 3 goddamn certificates that tell me I can do what I do. But, coupled with a bachelor's degree. Anyway.
So it hurts your feelings that I only have one?
No, I knew what I signed up for.
One thing that says I can do what I do.
I knew what I signed up for. I mean, not that I don't want to get paid more, but I think I should be paid what I'm worth.
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about, and I think we'll actually agree that teachers should probably make more than they do. Not probably. They should. On the flip side of that, I don't think tenure should exist.
On the flip side, what now?
I don't think tenure should exist.
I agree with that. I
think we should pay teachers more, and I think they should be always aware of not doing their job and getting fired.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I know that's not the right thing, and you'll never get a teacher to agree with you on that, but
I mean, okay.
That's your realm, so you talk to me. You tell me.
Hold on 1 second, because I think I'm going to kick my kid off the bandwidth. Because my picture keeps cutting out. Anyway, so I think, yes, there are lots of teachers that take advantage of their tenure. Not really here in Texas, because there are a lot of different things that go into us keeping our jobs. It is hard to fire teachers, but it's also hard to find teachers. And one of the reasons it's hard to find teachers and good teachers is because they don't get paid shit. So their best and brightest aren't really getting into that area. Another reason is every time you turn around, there's a Republican trying to demonize a teacher for indoctrinating their children, when in fact all they're doing is getting their fucking kids to think for them goddamn selves. Which I know is a hard thing for a Republican to understand. Thinking. But, sorry. But that it makes it really difficult for us to pressure the people that make the policy decisions. Because there's only so much money that goes into education. And so already the majority of the budgets for schools, for school districts, is salaries. It's already the big majority of all the budgets, right? And every year we get paid a little bit more. But every year also budgets are cut. And so then you have to decide where are you going to stymie that budget, right? Where are you going to make your cuts? Are you going to cut funding for stuff for kids? Are you going to cut teacher salaries? Are you going to cut support staff? How are you going to take care of it? Which, needless to say, I think you need to shore up and invest more into schools. I think investing more into especially pre-K. I think pre-kindergarten should be absolutely mandatory at every school in the United States. Studies have shown that is where the majority of the problems with reading and why we are so far behind they start there. I also think that actually, I think daycare should be free. I mean, from whenever the mom decides she wants to go back to work, I think that should be free. I think it should be part of a curriculum because, again, the majority of the issues that you have. So golly, I'm going to get into this. Here we go. So, and I've written papers on this, so I kind of know a little bit about what I'm talking about. But I don't have the exact numbers, so I will be muddling that bit. But the majority of the issues that you have with reading and being kids being behind when they start into middle school and high school start from the bottom, and the very basis of that starts from socioeconomic issues. A medium income household, a child in the one sec. So sorry, I was trying to get the kid to get off the game. Anyway, so it starts at home, where a middle income family, a child will hear close to 10 million words. In a poorer household or a lower socioeconomic household, the child hears somewhere in the realm of 1 million to 5 million less words. Just hears the words. Okay, so you're already starting at a disadvantage. Also, a lot of those parents aren't reading to their children. And so you're already, again, starting at a disadvantage. It all comes down to socioeconomic status. And they always generally, you can almost set your clock by it. But without fail, the kids with the lower socioeconomic status are going to perform worse on standardized testing, on testing in general, and are going to read at a lower level. And I think in order to equalize that and help out some of those issues, you have to have some form of daycare, some form of standardized, or not standardized, but some form of curriculum for those daycares. And the kids need to be read to, and the kids need to see and hear words that, maybe they're not getting at home because the parents aren't around, because they're working 3 jobs, or for whatever reason. But it starts with being in that socioeconomic class. Like, I have time to be here and read to my children every night. I have that time. I don't know if it's a luxury, but that's something that I do. My kids hear a lot of words because I'm around. So,
I mean, here, like, that's...
But if you're working minimum wage and you're working 40 hours a week, you're making $7.25 an hour. That's not shit. So you have to work another job. I myself work 3 jobs, and I have a degree and 3 certificates.
You just said you chose to be a teacher.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
just saying.
For that one, I'm just saying. But
I made a choice, right?
You made a choice, right? And that's good. I'm not knocking it. I never would, but we need teachers, and I do think they should be paid more, but that's not really what I think of this conversation. I want to bring it back to it's one of those things that I notice if you ever watch any of the debates, when people talk about these issues, and it seems to me that, and again, this is definitely going to piss you off, but it's always a question of the person on the left. You, for instance, you say, hey, I want to do all these things, and we're going to have daycares and free daycares for everyone. We're going to have, re-entering the workforce, training, and these other things, which we can go back to and talk about. I think that's worthwhile. We want the Medicare and all these other programs, and everyone needs to have access to everything. And the question always comes back to,
how are we going to pay for it?
How are we going to pay for it? And it's a valid question.
So I'll even take it one step further, because I think we should almost decommodify the housing market, food, and maybe not completely the housing market, because I think people should still be able to live how they want to live. But I think everyone should get food stamps.
Should we make
I think everyone should get a
illegal?
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Fuck those people. They don't work.
We should make
that's not work. That's not labor.
We should make people go to work and then produce certificates of actual labor. Hey, I did something.
I'm just saying.
And I didn't make money off of my hey, you know who else did exactly that? who else did exactly what I just said?
Oh, I know what you're saying. I'm just talking shit.
Okay.
I'm not saying you should actually do that. But yeah, fuck landlords. Seriously though, what do landlords produce? Nothing. Landlords produce nothing. They just exist.
Yeah. Every now and then you got to go fix a broken water main, but
not even that. No, you don't. Who fixes the broken water main?
Oh, the guy I paid to go do it.
The management company that you're hired to fix the shit, to actually manage the thing.
Hey, my buddy who owned his house, he did all his own maintenance, so I won't knock him for that one. I got a friend who's a wannabe slumlord who he bought a bunch of rundown houses and was renting them out, and he did all his own maintenance.
That's not very normal. Most of the time, people hire that out.
Hey, what do you think of the
houses that I've
CBO?
rented were run by a management company.
Yeah. What do you think of the Congressional Budget Office? What do you know about them?
Well, just in general.
Just like in general, yeah. Like what do I say the Congressional Budget Office do? Do they do good research? Is it fairly accurate? Like, do you have any preconceived notion about anything they put out?
No.
Do you know what they are?
Nope. I'm Googling it right now. CBO is a strictly nonpartisan conducts objective, impartial analysis and hires its employees solely on the basis of professional competence without regard to
political leanings or
without regard to political affiliation. CPOs does not make policy recommendations, and each report and cost estimate summarizes the methodology underlying the analysis. Learn more about CBO's commitment to objectivity and transparency. What's your point?
I was going to pull this up. This is the CBO report on raising the federal minimum wage. And they looked at it through 3 different options of $10, $12, and $15, raising it by up to $10, $12, or $15 per hour by 2025. How it would affect employment and family income. So basically here it says in an average week in 2025, the $15 option would boost the wages of 17 million workers who would otherwise earn less than $15 an hour. Another 10 million workers otherwise earning slightly more than $15 an hour might see their wages rise as well. But 1.3 million other workers would become jobless according to CBO's median estimate. There's a 2/3 chance that the change in employment would be between about 0 and a decrease of 3.7 million workers. The number of people with the annual income below the poverty threshold in 2025 would fall by 1.3 million.
I'm going to say this about that. So this is a guy. So the director of the Congressional Budget Office assumed office in June 3rd of 2019. Now, I understand that you have to have some type of background to just take over that office, right? You have to be around for a minute. But this guy from 2006 to 2009 was Assistant Secretary for the Treasurer of Economic Policy.
From what
years?
What
happened between 2000? From 2006 to 2009. What happened in between those years?
He was the Assistant Director for Economic Policy.
Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Economic Policy from 2006 to 2009. He played an important role in the financial crisis between 2007 and 2008.
Hey, you know who else did? This is just the fun segue. Do you know who else had a fun role in the financial crisis of 2008?
Is it Yellen?
Is it Yellen? It's Yellen. I was gonna say Yellen.
That's my guess.
Fucking Janet Yellen.
Golly, we just put ourselves right back in it. Jesus Christ.
And people think
She's
it's going to
a
be
criminal,
different
too.
now. Oh yeah.
She's a criminal, dude. She looking at her resume. Yeah, I don't.
It's like a who's who of like the crookedest. Like...
Right. What in the beans? Like just.
But anyway, I thought the congressional budget office. For me. This is the thing.
So it's hard for me. I just looked it up. It's hard for me to be like, oh well, if they said it, because look at who it is. You know what I mean? Obviously they're going to look at things through a certain lens, right? But again, history doesn't show what they're talking about. It doesn't. The data doesn't back that up. And everything that I've seen, the data doesn't back that up.
Do you remember the town hall a few years back? And the lady asked Bernie, like, I have 49 employees, and if I hire the fifth one, then I have to do this thing. I think it was for healthcare.
I can't hear you again. You got to back up again. I'm sorry. 49 employees.
Yeah, so there was a town hall that Bernie was at, and there might have been a debate, but and she basically said, like, I can't grow my business, I can't hire this next person, because if I do, it puts me in, I think it was the next healthcare bracket or something like that for the employees, and she couldn't afford to do that because of the margins in her office.
Because over 50, you under Obamacare, you had to provide health care for your employees.
Right.
Yeah.
So without jumping from 49 to like 100 where it was feasible, you couldn't get there, right? For like the small business. And I think that a lot of that has to do with like the margins that you get through the specific business, which may or may not lead to increased prices and wages and everything else and laid off people if you cannot maintain that profit margin for the business, right?
So I think a lot of people are very concerned about small businesses, right? Because that seems to be the main talking point. Small businesses and their small profit margins.
Yeah, it's
right?
like the meat and potatoes the backbone of the country.
Right. I understand that, but like the data doesn't support that they go out of business or they have to let people go. It's not what happens.
I don't think anybody's actually looking at that data then. I think they're looking at like the Walmarts and the Targets and the other places that pay their people at or below minimum wage that they have to go get on food stamps while they're working at Walmart.
Right.
And not the small business owner. They're not looking at those people. I think they're looking at the people that work at the Walmarts. All the data that I've ever seen has been like, hey, these guys who are working the minimum wage at Chili's or whatever.
Well, so already most small businesses pay over the minimum wage. Most small businesses, because they have to look at those people in the face every day, right? They're not paying minimum wage.
Yeah, it's Steve. He's your friend. He's cool.
They're paying They're paying them $10 and $12 an hour, right? But so really, who was in the first 2 years, it's not even going to affect those businesses, right? So most of who it's going to affect are the profit margins for Walmart and Target and things of that nature. Costco pays their people a living wage. Costco does. And they keep competitive prices between Sam's and Walmart. They maintain their profit margins enough and they pay a competitive living wage, from what I understand. This is what's been told to me. I haven't done the research.
You know who does pay a living or a decent wage actually? Is the Buc-ee's right down the street from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was working so many hours this last year, where I actually did the numbers, and we call it the Buc-ee's calculation out at the plants. and it's basically if I can work 40 hours a week at Buc-ee's and make the same dollar per hour that I'm working out here, it's time to go take a vacation or quit. Because if I only have to work 40 hours a week with a low stress job working at Buc-ee's versus the hours and the high stress that I'm dealing with, and I get paid the same hourly rate because I'm salary, it's time to take a vacation. So, and again, those are choices, right? They have benefits.
But from what I've seen is when you raise the minimum wage, the median wages rise also. I mean, the problem is, and I think, you alluded to it earlier, is that, or I guess a couple days ago, was that inflation is the problem and that wages haven't risen with inflation. And I don't think that's a product of small businesses not being able to pay. It's a product of, because the money is there to pay employees. That's a choice that employers make. It's to pay people less because they can, because people need to work. They don't have a choice. They have to work in this economy. In America, if you want to live a decent life, you have to work.
Yeah, I think it should be that way anywhere.
Right. I agree.
Everywhere.
I agree.
You should have to do something.
Well, I would say that those that can should. Those that are able.
You would say, like, from those according to their ability to those according to their need?
Yeah. Yeah. You know that's not what I'm saying. Don't be ridiculous.
Sorry.
So, the poverty rates of lower minimum wage regions have been directly tied to stagnant low wage groups, which is exponentially more harmful to small business than raising wages. Small businesses do better when the minimum wage goes up, so that's just a simple fact. Large companies have been moving their manufacturing overseas because of lower tax rates and labor rates that are literally unbeatable, even if we cut the minimum wage in half. So that argument's a non-starter. This has not proven. Theories have been put forth before, but not proven to be actually true in actual practice. The stage increased over 5 years, and most of those large businesses are already paying wages well above the federal minimum wage and have been for years. So again, I just want something that's not from Forbes. Like I'm trying to find.
Well, you could get a Bloomberg article. I think if you tried.
That's even better. Bloomberg.
That's the joke. Haha.
Saying apparently over the course of time, the restaurants in New York ended up doing better. There may have been an initial shock when the wages were raised, but now overall they are doing better. The demand has gone up.
Oh, I think the demand may have gone up because nobody's allowed to anymore. People want to do what they can't do, right?
Well, that's true. But you're stuck at home. I'm a DoorDash user, not a sponsor.
Gotta keep that in.
I was gonna keep saying it.
Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor.
Oh, you didn't like the Forbes article? I think I found that Forbes article you mentioned.
Well, I mean, dude, there's a ton.
Well, here's at the end of the day, and here's
I'm just saying, like this. I think that this is propaganda. Every time that you say it's going to crush the economy when you raise it and everybody's going to get fired, I think it's just propaganda. I don't think there is nothing that you can show me how that has happened to somebody, or that's happened to a place, um, that give me an example of when they raised wages to certain amount, it crashed the economy, or it crashed the businesses, or people got fired, or so many people got laid off. Like, you can't, unless you can, in which case, like, even your New York example doesn't really hold water, because apparently it went back up, and they were actually doing better than they were before.
So every time it goes back to inflation. I mean, if you raise the supply of
wages.
Money, if you
it's
raise
wages.
the supply
the
of money,
supply of money is already there, Rob.
In the total
market.
It
is at the top. It is not where we are. That is.
And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about
that's
the consumer
a thought
price
process
index.
Fallacy.
You're talking about the consumer price index at that point, which is the cost of goods, like for bread and milk, which is already going
already there. The money is already in the system. We don't have it. That's the difference. So you can talk about inflation all day, but the fact of the matter is the money is in the system. It's already been printed. It's just in the hands of like 100 people.
Well, nowadays they just go in there and type it in on the computer and say, more money. There it is.
Right. But it's not trickling down. Hence, Art Laffer being a quack. It doesn't trickle down. You know what it does do, though, if you actually hand it out to the regular people? Like, somebody on Fox News the other day, I saw a clip. Somebody on Fox News the other day said, instead of printing money and sending it to the banks, why don't you print money and send it to regular people so they can spend the money, and it will eventually grow the economy. Again, it falls back to the velocity of money, where the money actually enters into the economy versus going to these rich motherfuckers and they put it in a bank and you never see it again. If you give it to the people, it grows the economy. And so eventually the small business owners do better because more people have more disposable income and they can spend the money in their businesses. Because right now, if everything you see on Walmart, everybody's going to Walmart because it's a lot cheaper than going to this small handcrafted people. But if I've got more money, I'm going to go buy the better quality thing, right? Wouldn't you? You would buy the better quality thing. You would buy better quality food. You would buy, maybe you can go to the farmer's market and spend, $100 on Kobe steaks or whatever. I don't know. Do you buy those at the farmer's market? I don't go to the farmer's market. I'm a teacher.
You guys have farmers markets where you are?
Huh?
I said you guys have farmers markets?
It's in downtown Dallas. It's a pretty cool little place. Like the farmers market in downtown Dallas is like pretty sweet. I've never bought anything there because everything's way overpriced and I can't afford it.
Yeah, they're selling it to the yuppies that live in downtown Dallas.
But the location is super cool. Like, it really, really is cool. Like, they'll sell you, like, eventually I got my smoker now, so I'm fixing to go. I want to go buy a pork belly and from the farmer's market. And
let me ask you this.
Myself some bacon.
Let me ask you this. Do you think on a principled matter, like just as a abstract thought, there will ever be people not in poverty? Like, we'll ever, like, eliminate a poverty line? But it's never going to not exist.
I think you can.
So just as a philosophical, principled level, you think that's possible?
I think it is.
I
think it is, and it really will depend on. I mean, there will always be people doing better than other people, but you can eliminate hunger. You can eliminate lack of shelter, and you can eliminate people dying from lack of health care. I think those things we have the capability of eliminating. It's a choice that we don't. And I think one day we will get there. Obviously, there have to be a lot of changes in deciding what is important to us as a society, because our society teaches. I've got a T-shirt over here that says it. Nobody cares, work harder.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you wear
so,
that T-shirt.
huh?
I said you wear that T-shirt too.
I've worn it once. It was given to me, and I was wearing it, and I was like, this really goes against everything that I stand for, like wholeheartedly, except in sports.
Nobody cares. Work harder.
Except in sports, because when there's nothing that makes me madder is when a D lineman comes over and complains to me that they're holding. Yeah, I don't care. If you come over and complain to me that somebody's holding you and you can't make a play, you're going to sit on the bench, because I do not want to hear it. Of course they're holding you. I teach the O linemen to hold. They're going to hold. Yes. That's what they're going to do. I teach it, so they're going to.
It's legal
Quit
hold,
crying.
illegal hold. Legal hold, illegal hold. Come on, guys. Basics.
Quit crying and get your ass in there and do better. That's usually laced with a lot of curse words, but I'm trying to cut back on my cursing. So
Yeah.
when I'm screaming in one of these kids' faces,
Yeah, that's probably.
I'm just kidding. I'd never curse at a kid.
Is lightning gonna strike you? I'm worrying it's gonna come through my computer. So I disagree, and just from the basic principle of, I don't think you can, like humanity, just like us as a human race, can get to a point. Now maybe, okay, so you said like you'll always have people that are going to do better than others, right?
Right.
So maybe that's what I'm thinking of, because if you get your wish list and world peace and solve world hunger and or American hunger or however you want to limit it, then that would be we've eliminated the poverty line. We've got healthcare, we've got food, and we've got basically a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So you yourself mentioned your own slippery slope that the left was coming on strong with now from their, well, Biden talked about 15, well, maybe we should ask for 25.
Yep. I think raising it to 25 even within a 5-year period would crash the economy, honestly. I think 15 is reasonable. I think it's doable, and I don't think it crashes the economy. 25 would probably do damage.
And
because you can't just say because there are leftists that if you say, well, what about $1 million an hour, right? And they're like, and then the leftists, the socialists would be like, yeah, $1 million, yeah, let's do that. Like you can't, like it's not feasible, right? Because
I feel like those people don't understand a wage is a compensation for your time,
right? Well, it's a compensation for your labor.
Well, when we were kids,
which I mean, if you wanted to give them a profit and piece of the labor.
You know how you would go to school and your friends would talk about oh yeah, I'm gonna go help my dad work on the car or whatever. Did you ever have friends that talked about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always heard that, and I was always like, huh, that's weird. We never work on the car together, Dad. Why are we working on the car? And he was like, well, son, my time is it's pretty valuable to me, and I get paid for my time, and it's worth it to me to not spend the time working on the car and to pay someone else to do this for me rather than figure it out myself. And if you think of time in the terms of a resource, so you have labor as a resource and time as a resource for a business. We talk in terms of man hours, right? How many man hours are we going to be putting under this scope of job or whatever we're going to do? There's a dollar sign attached to that, right?
Mm.
And I don't think that people realize that there's economic forces that typically assign the value to that. Now, maybe those forces are like what the job is, what kind of skilled labor I need, what unskilled labor I need. Those two guys are going to get paid very differently.
So I'm gonna stop you there, because while yes, there is a level of what labor do I need and what the market brings, but there's also a piece of what will a laborer take? What's the least amount that I can pay them?
Yeah, absolutely.
To turn a profit. And so, because people are struggling, they'll take anything. Or because they're like, oh, well, this is just what it is. There's nothing better. There's no way to do better. And that is why you need a federal minimum wage. That reason right there. Because, like, what is the least amount that I can pay someone to do this job is how you think as an employer, right? Mm-hmm. That's how, if you were hiring somebody and you were starting a business and you wanted to pay somebody, but you needed something done, what's the least amount so I can continue to make however much money I'm making?
And if you get that good employee, then you say, what do I have to pay you to keep you? Right?
Or you can just keep hiring somebody.
I don't want to hire somebody. I want that guy.
Well, then somebody else might want him, and he can go on and do other things. Somebody else will pay him.
So I have to pay him more.
$70 million. Would you? Or you can go and hire, if you wanted him bad enough, or you can just go hire somebody else who's going to do this menial job, and you can train them up too. Because why would I pay him $12 an hour when I can pay this guy $5 an hour? And it's the same job. Now, he might not do it as well, but it's the same job that he was doing. He's costing me 12, but he'll do it for 5. Now, I may have to go in behind him and fix him. Is that worth it to me to save $6 an hour, $7 an hour? Fuck yes, it is.
Maybe, but you can't speak for everyone.
I can't, but it's pretty typical. It's pretty typical. Like you can take something as simple as,
if you're talking
reshelving,
about
reshelving of the stocks.
Yeah.
He's really, really good at it. He's very good at his job. Now I can promote him, or he's going to go find another job somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say? But am I going to pay him more, what he's worth, doing the job that he's doing? Or am I going to hire somebody else to do the job for the same low, shitty pay?
So you're
going to hire somebody else.
You got two people working the same job at your same wage, your same minimum wage. One does well,
One's
one
way
doesn't.
better than the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can't
You're
pay
going
anymore.
You're going to keep the cheap labor. Because it makes economic sense. Even though he's not as good, he doesn't work as hard. He doesn't always face up, So every once in a while, the manager has to walk behind him and face some things out. But I'm already paying the manager that much money. Why do I need to pay guy number one? I don't. I'll just hire another fucking idiot teenager to do a shitty job and keep it moving. Keep my profit margins on point.
Sorry, distraction.
I can hear it. I had mine earlier, so I can't say anything.
Yeah. I think that's my cue, man.
Yeah, I got one sneaking around the corner, giving me a time where I'm at. So I'm with it.
I'm just gonna call this one the Reese Show, and we'll stop it here.
Sorry, I did it again, didn't I?
Say that
on
again.
That, I see a lot of the effects of poverty and a lot of the struggles, that people go through being poor.
Yeah. Like I said, you're very passionate about this, and again, my basic thought is like, I kind of don't feel like I have a dog in this fight. Oh my goodness.